Yes, no family greetings to the them love and light energies. Give thanks to life, give thanks to the source, you know. Now, since the other day, you don't know me I evolve with my thing now. So I say, me have to go into this. Me did even want I tell my daughter for see if she can get this book of Enki for me and thing. And then I mind say, she said she there check it out still and thing. And at the same time, I say, what if the audio they about and me can listen? I'm gonna go up on the internet and I'm find an audio where in a computer voice that somebody do. Nobody listen to the audio. Me I tell you say, we just did download like about two of them first from my YouTube go. And me have it to listen over and over. So I come and listen to the first about two or three of me download. Me I say wait. But me never download part one. So me I say, oh, this sounds so interesting like a some movie. Yeah, listen to the audio. Like somebody I tell you about a movie vibration. And me I say, no man, what if I feed them interpretation this? Anyway, I download all 14 tablets plus you have one where the high priest himself will do the writing. When name end up sir. Right? You have theme thing there too. I mean listen everything. Even theme thing is of similarity to Enoch and Elijah story in a sense. Anyway, when me download all 14 and me listen them right through family, me I say no sir. Me have to go see if me find either me have to go buy the book now or me have to go see if me can find the pages on the internet. The university, alright, I'm gonna make you find it. And so said, so done. You see, by reading now, you get a more deeper understanding what you see instead of somebody else say it to you. Because remember, we not talk like computer, so we not really have that much vibes there with them thing there. Well, you have other audios where they pan it to people and speak, but me did I go try to do that too, in all honesty. But my sister, it I go kind of too drawn out. And me feel say, what me I go do now? For each tablet, what me I go interpret, me I go do it in my Jamaican talk style. And what go happen now, me have to go read out certain things. But for the majority, me can't explain it out. And as I say, who want to read it, me go even have within the video pages, same way when you can pause and read if you know want to hear my voice. So, I go a lot of options when you can deal with. But the thing I'm fascinated about is that family, they are them for taking this thing because if this is an ancient writing, if this thing I come from the first civilization where it come in existence on earth, where we have, where scientists prove what history say, if these documentations that come from these people, we have to pre it deep. And then now when you have to go pre it deep, you're gonna see the similarities now. You're gonna see Adam and Eve story in it, Cain and Abel, you're gonna see all of these stories. Noah's story, all of these main stories. You're gonna see them in this last book of Enki. So I imply they are them for really pre it. So as I said, it starts with introduction, which are page one scene. So it has said some 445,000 years ago, astronauts from another planet came to Earth in search of gold, right? So splashing down in one of Earth's seas, they waded ashore and established Iradu, home in the faraway. In time, the initial settlement expanded to a full-fledged mission Earth with a mission control center, a spaceport, mining operations, and even a way station on Mars. Short of manpower, the astronauts employed genetic engineering to fashion primitive workers to Homo sapiens. The deluge that catastrophically swept over the Earth required a fresh start. The astronauts became gods, granting mankind civilization, teaching it to worship. Then about 4,000 years ago, listen, all that have been achieved unraveled in a nuclear calamity brought about by the visitors to Earth in the course of their own rivalries and wars. So you see the war from even start though. Alright. So what are taking place on Earth, especially I should say the events since human history began at being called by Zacharias teaching the Earth Chronicles series. From the Bible, clay tablets, ancient myths, and archaeological discoveries, right? But what had proceeded, so this is where him get theme, all of him things put together from. Him not just gonna read one thing, him going to the Bible, the ancient clay tablets, him deal with ancient myths, where archaeologists are find, everything him a put together. And it come up with the Earth Chronicles. So it help even for clarify what him did I read and I see when him a translate the clay tablets. But what preceded the events on Earth and what are taking place on the astronauts' own planet, Nibiru, that causes space journeys, the need for a goal, and the creation of man. What emotion, rivalries, beliefs, morals for the lack thereof, right, motivated the principal players in the celestial and space sagas? What were the relationships that caused mounting tensions on Nibiru and on Earth? What tension arose between the old and the young, between those who had come from Nibiru and those born on Earth? And to what extent, and was what had happened determined by destiny, and destiny was the record of past events, was the key to the future? Now, jumping a few paragraphs, it has a scholars and theologians alike now recognize that the biblical tales of creation of Adam and Eve, the Garden of Eden, the Deluge, the Tower of Babel, were based on texts written down millennia earlier in Mesopotamia, especially by the Sumerians them. And they in turn clearly stated that they obtained their knowledge of past events, right? Many from a time before civilizations began. So like when you hear them talk about what happened 445,000 years ago, you might say, oh, mankind know that. They might show you say these brothers tell them, these gods, right? And even before mankind came to be, from the writings of the Anunnaki, those who came from heaven to earth, the gods of antiquity. So you gotta wonder, say, it'll come like when they might tell you about some ancient map, you know? And they might tell you, say, this ancient map here, how it drawn is like, I must have one plane, I fly over and I draw this a map here. Because how the map draw, you know, one ancient map, you know. They must say, oh, this a map here draw most, a man a fly in and sit and draw this. So they must know as a result of century and a half of archaeological discoveries in the ruins of ancient civilizations, especially in the Near East, and a great number of such early texts have been found, right? The finds have also revealed the extent of missing texts, so-called lost books, which are either mentioned in discovered texts or inferred from such texts, or that are known to have existed because they are catalogued in royal or temple libraries. So this is how they hide a lot of information I can show you. So them even not tell about the Epic of Gilgamesh. As the man said now, on page 2, sometimes the secrets of the gods were partially revealed in the epic tales, such as the Epic of Gilgamesh, that disclosed the debate among the gods that led to the decision to let mankind perish in the deluge, or in the text titled Astra Aces, which we call the mutiny of the Anunnaki, who had toiled in the gold mine that led to the creation of primitive workers, earthlings. From time to time, the leaders of the astronauts themselves authorized different compositions. So let me even show you, say, even one another book named Astra Aces, Astra Aces, right? Where they give you a little story about how the Anunnaki, the original workers them were used to work, how after a while them, based upon a different planet them they come upon, because one of them here are 3,600, or 3,600 a few. One of them here are 3,600 or 3,600 years for we. So when them guys, you know, we come down now to this planet, and especially the workers them, Cause you don't know top man can have something for tap up and have a little special chamber for going on like Michael Jackson, you know. But watch out now. When they look at regular workers are in the mines at work now, out there in the sun, kind of in Africa, this are going in South Africa. Based upon that different cycle and everything, when them did have start sick and you know, die earlier than what them know them expect because of the different cycle. So them did have it with them them talk about the mutiny now where they go on cause them did have strike and I say boy you have to do something about this cause we are sick of. When all time did come when they start exchange workers, them say, alright, we're gonna start exchange work and make someone go up back and so. When some of the son them go up back, them older than them mother. Hey, I tell you, so this last book of Enki, boy, I tell you, say, the universe is great for hide with this from Vatican secret archives, where them instigate in 1612. This they just found in like 1947, as me I tell you, them tablets here. After World War II and everything, them feel say them good, you know, cause after World War II, everything done, you know, and you know, them get out, them know, them say them know all them for know, cause they make atomic bomb and all of them shit there, and them have spaceship. So when this come out now, them they say, try to put it in a cause it couldn't just go hide with so now, so them have to say, go put them thing in a museum. Now this Virgin Zacharias teaching now is a big man. It a kind of, oh you say, the universe have to make Bob Marley come into existence. That's based upon the fact that he's partially white and partially black. He was more accepted by even the white race for even gravitate to the message. As though them not too pre Bunny Whale and Peter Touch. Yes, them pre them, you know, but you don't know them Bob Marley was a more grand scale. I see him thing now I go on here so. So them story of family is not pretty, it's not normal as how we use the things. They will tell you about one next book named Era Epos, right? In which one of the two gods who caused the nuclear calamity sought to shift the blame to his adversary. Sometimes the god acted of his own, as his own scribe. And regarding the case of the book of Thoth, you know, kind of what Thoth them say right that. So they must show all these mix up a go and see, they must talk about all the nuclear war there. So you have some set now where you go find books now where you go find now a different man and say, boy, Enki evil, you know, and you understand and Enki this and Enki that. Everybody go have them story. But you know have to differentiate now by what you read now, same way. So they must say, as when you see we start from the first now, from that's how me I tell you, 400,000 years ago. And some beings touched down upon earth. And the man will explain that tell you, say these beings set up space station, mission control center. You know, as a mission control center, I like where they have an airport. I like where NASA would have when they must send off rocket. They might tell you about spaceport, where much spaceship go park up. They might tell you about mining operations what them did do in South Africa. And even a way station to Mars. This is all what happened 445,000 years ago, you know. Them time that we not have one brief yet, you know. Them time that we are still probably just a come out of Homo habilis. Because them say we were homids. See? So we might even just a step out of Homo habilis, you know, and a coming of Homo erectus. Because to all the real story going on, we became Homo sapiens 200,000 years ago. So if you see, say, them did still there 200,000 years. I do for them thing. Before seeing we and knowing we everything, because them say even the brethren Enki describe how when him see we as beings we used to never talk, but we seem to reason amongst ourselves telepathically. And him see we used to catch fire. And him see so we have sense enough we used to free animals from trap. Whether we catch them for ourselves or is an animal just get caught up somewhere. So them see say we couldn't talk when they wear clothes. We the kind of have a bit more here, like what you see we might never look like how we look, but we weren't like monkeys as how the system want to try to tell you. monkey have tail. We would have more come out of that ape family there. That's why you see them use our King Kong portray in the movies. Even this, you know, notice this last movie I show you King Kong versus Godzilla. Final battle, man. Notice how you see King Kong a fight all the while, reptilians. You know, that are for them metaphor, you know, for what out for go on, you know. Alright. Now as you see them I tell you now about rivals with between and wars between them each other, no matter about even nuclear calamity what it happened just 4,000 years ago. So that would be somewhat between either before or after Noah's flood, you know. And Babylon have no knowledge of this. But him know about Noah's flood and him know about what used to go on. Because I show you Babylon and demons now. Even though I know say Noah's flood stories are about 3,600 years. If you figure research right now, then I'm going to tell you say Noah's flood is between like 4,000 to 4,200 years. You see me I deal with. Then all them have them documentation that say nuclear war they kick off on Earth just 4,000 years ago in some area. So they must show you all of these things are taking place and they might tell you say, oh, and them they even genetically modify as we say. And they might tell you about the baby, they might tell you say scholars and theologians, see? Not because these scholars and theologians don't come out and come say, so and so and so, and yes, it's true, no. But this is what him know we are going because him in that field. Go do no research about Zachariah's teaching if you don't want to know for somebody we deserve to listen to, like myself. So he might show you say scholars and theologians alike now recognize that the biblical tales of creation of Adam and Eve, the Garden of Eden, the deluge, or the deluge, or way to call it, the Tower of Babel, were based on texts written down millennia earlier in Mesopotamia, especially by the Sumerians. And these Sumerians now in turn clearly stated that they obtained their knowledge of past events, many from even before civilization began, from these beings called the Anunnaki, and writings from the Anunnaki. So, where I go say now, these Romans, what you see from them come on earth are the wickedest thing will ever exist. We'll give you history, right? We are going to just hook up that history. Apart from these wicked guys I give you this history now, the history where them are give you even younger than this. This is an older history than for them. And it's still a show you say. Because you see in the same Sumeria, I never know white man out there, so you know, to hear about Sumeria, you might have pre-Sumeria now, you know, and Mesopotamia now, you know. I never know white man because you have a part where I go read, where I go tell you say, oh Sumer, that's when Lord Enki hold him in a ball and I say, oh Sumer, the black-headed people, the land have been destroyed. And wait. When you talk about black-headed people, what you that want to say is a white man with black hair. Alright, then you know, go and say so. Nobody now run you down. Me sit down. Now, what they must show you now, yes, sir? They must show you say all these biblical stories that you have in your Bible now I come from yes, sir. Because Adam and Eve story, the original story, we are going to read about it in this. I'm not going to try to explain it to you. I'm going to read it out. So, we have to understand them vibes the family say, you know, the thing deep. And as them even mention about things where hide one of them royal temples and libraries, we have to know say, it are the same Vatican secret archive things. Now when I come up here to me, I tell you about how different gods make different ones write out different things. And even about Epic of Gilgamesh, because we hear about Gilgamesh and Marduk within the Bible. And we if you know so the same Marduk what we see in our Bible. Look upon this and listen me and say, you know, the Marduk what you see in the Bible and the Anunnaki God we name Enki Picnic. So him done in the Bible already, you can't take him out. I'm not gonna see if him name in this. So now if you understand what I go on, they might tell about different books who have different writings and different meanings where different gods, handed down. Even this biblical story about Moses when he go up on mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. This is what happened. This is what I'm going to read about what happened to this virgin where write this thing here. When he end up, sir. A 40 days and 40 nights, him stay up amongst the God. And I take along this, and I take these messages and I write it down. We are come to film thing. See, so the matter say, were it not for tale recorded on papyrus from the time of the Egyptian king Khufu concerning the books of the secret of Thoth, the existence of that book would have not become known. Were it not the biblical narratives in the Exodus and Deuteronomy, we would have never known about the divine tablets and their contents. All would have become part of the enigmatic body of lost books, whose very existence would have never come to light. No less painful is the fact that some instances we do know that certain texts had existed, but are in the dark regarding their contents. Such is the case regarding the book of Wars of Yahweh, right, and the book of Dasher, book of righteousness, which are specially mentioned in the Bible in at least 2 instances. See? And I'm tell about I'm going to go on and tell about Genesis and all of that where certain things mentioned in Genesis, but we don't have to go deep in that because we just want to kind of have a little idea. There are them sisters, them are trying to show you, yes, I say, if it not for the papyrus and from Khufu, the Egyptian God, we wouldn't know about the secrets of that. Because them hide off all of these things, them hide off emerald tablets, them hide off everything. This is when we do the video, family, about John D, Me I tell you when the Crusaders did come into existence, for their motive from them come day one was for go seize all them things, And as I tell you in 1612, Vatican Pope Paul VI decides to watch her. Everything for going on in Vatican sell, So, enough of these things now, they might try to show us enough of these things. If I never, for even certain biblical mention, we wouldn't go say why, if it mentioned in the Bible, that means there's a book that exists named so we're going to pray it. Something like that, And it make people go pray and know, say, even more books than where the same Bible give away exist. They even tell about another book, say, they must say indeed, they must say part version of a book that became known as the Book of Adam and Eve have survived over the millennia in Armenia. Listen, you hear with them place them where them book have survived and for them literature. Armenia, Slavonic, Syriac, and Ethiopic languages. So we still get peace height. That's why I see Ethiopia stand up. And the book of Enoch, one of the so-called apocryphal books that were not included in the canonized Bible, that contain segments that are considered by scholars to be fragments from much earlier Book of Noah. Boy, me I tell you, apocryphal, okay, cool. We love get my thing, So them still a show you, say everything still a come from this family. See? The great library where scholars gathered to study the accumulated knowledge was burnt down and destroyed in the war that extended from 48 BC to the Arab conquest in 642 BC. So we are talking about the dirty Alexander Library now, where same thing them do again, same way when them come in. Gather all of them together and come store it up like a for them. Then them turn and burn it down when them take away certain things that them need. Them say, what has remained of its treasures is a translation of the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible into Greek and fragments retained in the writings of some of the library resident scholars. So what you think now when you say what remained? You think like, what don't go pick up out the ashes? Okay. And what them want you to know about? And enough of them not burn up because them tell you, then carry them, enough of them want to need Vatican right now. It is only thus that we know that the second king Ptolemy commissioned secret 270 BC an Egyptian priest who the Greeks called Manetho or Manetho to compile the history and prehistory of Egypt. At first, Manetho wrote only the gods reigns there, then demigods, and finally, circa in 3100 BC, where the pharaonic dynasties began. So you them talk when Pharaoh dynasty began, 3100 BC. You ask Mr. European where him did that them the time there. Now make me tell you, you ask him what him did there. You ask Mr. Europe where is in those times. So the matter about the divine wrote and the matter about this PH3, the divine reigns he wrote began 10,000 years before the flood and continued for 1,000 years thereafter. Right, and the matter about the Asiatic domains of Alexander, where the reign fell into the hands of the generals Seleucus and his successors. A similar effort to provide the Greek savants with a record of past events took place. A priest of the Babylonian god, listen now, a priest of the Babylonian god Marduk. So as I tell you about Marduk, or it mentioned as Babylonian god and all of that. And this a Babylonian now, and it wasn't a god for it than the time there. Now when you see it a go on. But even Motamir mentioned it one long time per radio say. Enough place so we have enough fantasized based upon the fact of Babylon tell we and teach we. And that's how it go. Because Africa never wicked and terrible. And when the Europeans come there. So Babylon wasn't an evil place as how it become now and we face away. But remember, it mentioned Marduk was the king for Babylon. The god for Babylon, I should say. Nebuchadnezzar was one of the king. Watch how them I show you now, say. In a reality, when you go do your research. Marduk, a Enki's son. So, when you go find out, say, who is Marduk now? And then they say Marduk a Enki's son. So, where Enki come from? We're not going to have a problem. So, them are telling now this priest now of the Babylonian god Marduk, when named Berosus, with access to the libraries of clay tablets, whose core was the temple library of Haran, which is now in southeastern Turkey, wrote down in 3 volumes a history of gods and men that began 432,000 years before the deluge. When the gods came to earth from the heavens, listing by name and reign durations the first 10 commanders. Berosus, so you can go Google him name, Berossus. Reported that the first leader dressed as a fish waded ashore from the sea. He was one who gave mankind civilization, and his name, rendered in Greek, was Canis. Alright. You see this when talk about number what him just saying now. Dressed as a fish. So you can imagine you as an ancient man, see somebody, you as an ancient man or see a modern man who know about diving suit and all of that and have him operation. You see him come out from underneath water and start walk. This is your interpretation of what you see. Just like when Ezekiel talk about chariots and wheel within a wheel, he couldn't say spaceship or UFO. He have to base off away him see. Because so the ancients used to call UFO fiery chariots, Now, Berosus now I try to tell you so now, there was a king list where some kings reign and there's a 432-year period vibration go on. And he must say the first leader just like a fish and I tell you what his name, because he must say, don't tell in many details about priests rendered accounts of gods who had come to earth of a time when gods alone reigned on earth, and of the catastrophic deluge in the fragmentary bits and pieces. And they might say the original stone tablets were eaten for safekeeping in an ancient city called Sipar, one of the original cities established by the ancient gods. See? Now, Berosus now, you see this same tablet here with them talk about family. This tablet here is said to be in the Sumerian king list, see? For sure it says a real thing. Them say it is on display right now in the Ashmolean Museum, Oxford, England. Now, you for know say, if this is sitting here ain't real, Babylon wouldn't have it in there, so. You have to just know that. So this is a Sumerian king list now, you know. And like say 3 years are 432,000 years. You're going to say, you can't even do the math. You're going to say 432,000 kings. No. I'm going to show you that these virgins that live longer than us. That was why. So let me even tell you, say it is known that this Sumerian or Sumerian, because it we call Sumerian now, but a Sumer we used to call it. Civilization had blossomed in what is now Iraq, right? Almost a millennia before the beginning of the Pharaonic age in Egypt. Both to be followed later by the civilization of the Indus Valley in the Indian subcontinent. You have to understand what I'm going. That's why when you hear about say black man is the origin. When you spell Negro, our origin spell backway, O-R-I-G-I-N. Spell it backway and see if it not look almost like you say Negro or Negro. Just simple do that. Don't make them trick on no family. You even have a story as I mentioned when Enki and Enlil in a ball about the blackhead people them. When the man them did a war and drop them nuclear thing upon the man them 4,000 years ago. A black people. So don't make them trick on and tell them nothing. There's no way the white race can bring forth the black ones. But we know so white people can come from black civilization. Don't make them tell them nothing. So them I show you say this a place here, you know. This a civilization of blossoming in Iraq, see? You know? That's why you see them run gun there and kill off Saddam. For import and not talk about weapons of mass destruction. We up to today them can't find. So them I show you now say them a place are up and running before the beginning of the Pharaonic age in Egypt. Right? And both to be later followed by the civilization of the Indus Valley in the Indian subcontinent. You see me I did everything come after following a care all them want go on like say. And everything fairly young since we deal with things within a civilized way, you know, you have to put it like that, you know. So that's a piece of page 3. Let me see now I go on page 4. So rulers and their 432,000 year reign, to which Berosus had referred, known as the Sumerian king list, is now in display in the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford, as I tell you, England. There are several versions that leave no doubt that the Sumerian compilers had access to some early common or canonized textual materials, coupled with other equally early texts discovered in various states of preservation. They strongly suggest that original record of the arrival as well as the preceding events, certain of the following events, had to be one of those leaders, a key participant, an eyewitness. So the man try to say how things really explain out. Like you that talk even before we get primitive enough. But we know about things before we get primitive. Or we would have come across a knowledge there. They might show you that the Anunnaki gods them do it. And they might show you say Enki, what we call Ea. So now one of these eyewitnesses now to the event would have to be one of those leaders splashed on in the first group of astronauts, right? And at this time his name was Ea, before he become Enki. He whose home is water, interpretation. He experienced the disappointment of having command of Mission Earth given to his half-brother and rival Enlil, which means Lord of the Command. A humiliation little medicated by granting him here the title Enki, Lord of the Earth. See? And they must say relegated away from the cities of the gods and their spaceport in Eden, Edin, which we call Eden, to supervise the mining of the gold in Abzu, southeastern Africa. It was here Enki, a great scientist, who came across the Homids, right? Same Homo sapiens, Homo habilis, who inhabited those parts in Africa, And so when the Anunnaki toiled in the gold mines mutinied and said no more, it was he who realized that the needed manpower could be obtained by jumping the gun on evolution through genetic engineering, and thus did the Adam came into being. We know enough time, we know the Adam always hear me talk about them things, but I just true me just I read it out of one man who have more PhD and sitting than me with him right. No me used to say so before me even come across this book. Yeah. And them sit there. So them try to show you now, say, as I'm done tell about the Sumerian king list, them tell you say the key participant, them say to all this knowledge will pass down to we, about spaceport and Mars and all of that. It must have come from some one of these gods. So the must say Ea was that one there. Because even this where we are read the end up so right at Ea, tell him to write it. So they want to tell you say most people one of them will come down to earth, and they want to tell you say the same Enki. And they want to tell you him be disappointed. Because remember him first it come at earth. When they did find out about the goal. In reality, I want brother named Enlil did first come at earth. We're going to go in a theme story further on. When Enlil find out about the goal, him radio back to Nibiru and tell them. And send sample readings and them confirm it. Them even did that say a lie tell. Till when them call him one next time and I talk to him and that Sykes. And somebody a chase him call. And when them chase him call and them done talk to him and say, alright, yeah man, we soon get back to you. Like the ones that say, bossy, him not there nowhere upon this planet Nibiru at all. Him look like him there way out. Yeah man, transmission there way out. So them believe where man say no, so some of them send down now Enki and about 50 other astronauts first. This is when Enki come, set up Iridu in 6 days, rest on the 7th day, call back up on the barrel, tell daddy what I go on. And my daddy know say I rest there this. All who want to talk to them family can go yell up them family and all these things. And then I saw that, the Saturday that run. Sunday them start back work again. Now, the man say Enki and Enlil now have a rival, even though Enlil in charge. Based upon the fact that Enlil's mother is the queen of Nibiru. Enlil's father is the king of Nibiru. Enki's mother is an outside vibration, but Enki are the firstborn. So Enki are them call a concubine. She an outside woman, but she get Enki the first. And she get Anu the first son, which are Enki. So Anu still respect him. And he's a brilliant youth as far as I see so. Anu still respect him, that's him say. When him get Enlil command of the mission, we are going to earth, him still tell when although Enki did vex, him say, Enki, one thing, ease yourself no man. Him a lord of the command of the mission. Are you a lord of the earth? Which one bigger? So they must show you say even between two of them they have rivalry did go on. And they must show you say when the workers, these guys were called the Igigis, they start a rebel against the work based upon them did that, as I mentioned, so them did that age and all of that based upon the cycle of earth different from Nibiru where them left from. Plus them did not sun at work. So them did rage and I start strike and all of that and I say, boy, Ray. So it make Enki have to come up with the idea, because Enki was a scientist, genius, So Enki have to come up with the idea and say, at first him tried it for reason with the Homo erectus. But him as he said it couldn't work. So him start doing research on them and him check out them DNA, and I say, no, so them DNA, I think they mention it like I said, have a little less difference, Or, feel just have a little bit of difference from for them, because they're more advanced, And I said them can tap up for everything for them, man, because since we are the greater portion and the greater vibes. But them must say it's similar. So it no make them genetically modify by using the semen from Enki, right? And reproducing this egg from one of these Homo erectus female. And then put the egg now in a mama Ninurshag womb. That's one of the Anunnaki queen. She was one of the chief medical nurse. In a fear womb, then put the egg. And in a fear womb, the baby born. The baby born from, I should say, the first man with the name Adamo. So it's a good story where we're going on, family. Remember that. So if you remember even the name Adamo, even though we're going to mention more. So I just basically there, so. And I'm tell about Enki two sons when you Marduk and Ningizida. And them the Egyptian people call Ra and Tat. You see me idea. So if you see everything is still there, everything is a trick. So though the firstborn of Anu, Enki was not destined to be his father's successor on the throne of Nibiru. Complex rules of succession which reflected the convoluted history of the Nibirians gave that privilege to Enki's half-brother, Enlil. In the effort to resolve the bitter conflict, both Enki and Enlil ended up on a mission to an alien planet, Earth. Right? Because the goal was needed to create a shield for preserving Nibiru's dwindling atmosphere. It was against that background, made even more complex by the presence of Earth, on Earth I should say, of their half-sister Ninarshag, who is the chief medical officer of the Anunnaki, that Enki decided to defile Enlil's plan to have mankind perish in the deluge. The conflict carried on between the two half-brothers, right? Even go amongst them sons and them grandchildren. So you just have an idea what go on. So this is how we get God and devil story from, and these fights we are going, it's a constant thing. And if you know say even humanity take on too. So this is our page 5 And well, page 5 really alright, this interested for real, right? In fact that all of them, and especially those that born on Earth, face a loss of longevity. That Nibiru's extended orbital period provided added personal agonies and sharpened ambitions. It all came to a climax in the last century of the 3rd millennium BC, when Marduk, Enki's firstborn, by his official spouse, claimed that he, and not Enlil's firstborn son, who is Ninurta, should inherit the earth. So they must say about this at first bad vibes, and now we start with between Enki's son, see, and we are Enlil's son, About who for inherit the earth, So them say the bitter conflict that include a series of wars led in the end the use of nuclear weapons. The ensuing true unintended result was the demise of the Sumerian civilization. You see where I go on this, family? This is how the man retranslate. Not from what the Pope, wicked man Pope, I tell him, but from ancient things where even the same Bible come from. So the man said, now the initiation of chosen individuals into the secrets of the gods had marked the beginning of the priesthood. The lineages of mediators between God and the people. the transmitters of the divine words to the mortal earthlings, oracles, interpretations of divine utterances were commingled with observations of the heavens for omens. Well, you hear me just read this and now. This is what you see the Vatican claim say. Because the priesthood are really the highest order in Ireland, higher than the king, Look, watch how it go. If the king chosen by, if he said through the gods is a different thing, but if when them allow earth to run and we for run earth, you can't choose the king, You have to choose a man of righteousness first. So the priest have to be the first one day. Now the priest, him through him now and through his inspiration from God or whatsoever you call the vibration there. I go inspire him what priest or who to choose to be the king. So like nowadays thing when you said some wicked king come put themselves on throne and then them use whatsoever priests and popes and bishops we agree with whatsoever them I do. No, so it going on them old time days there. That's why you talk about the Melchizedek order, the highest order in Ireland. So they want to tell about these priesthoods, where have them a vibration like myself, yeah. We are pass on these knowledge, these divine utterances. You see me? So, the matter is, as mankind was increasingly drawn to take sides in the godly conflicts, seeing, prophecy began to play a role. Indeed, the term to denote such spokesmen of gods who proclaim what was to come. Nabia was the epithet for Marduk's firstborn son, Nabu, who had tried on behalf of his exiled father to convince mankind that the heavenly signs bespoke the coming supremacy of Marduk. So it deep from as I say, the man I tell about some how them can change our realities and time and all of that. How the man them not easy. The man say the proclamations of Enlil sometimes, even of Anu, that used to be unquestioned, were now subjected to scrutiny of the difference between Nam A, which is destiny, like the planetary orbits whose course had been determined and was unchangeable. And then you have Nam Tar, which is literally a destiny you've seen that could be bent, broken, change, which was fate. It's come like some time machine travel back but kill somebody that's them not born for certain things that happen. If you see the technology of the man them have, right? You know, talk about the nuclear vibes that did go on and how they never love it after when the smoke settle. They must say in the councils of the Anunnaki, when on the eve of the calamity that are before them drop the bomb, because we're going to that story, so I'm not even to chat it. They must say it was Enki alone who stood to the opposition of the use of the forbidden weapons. It was thus important for Enki to explain to the suffering remnants that turning point in the saga of extraterrestrials who had meant well but ended as destroyers had come to pass. But who but Enki, Enki, was the first to come forth as an eyewitness to it all and most qualified to tell the past so that the future could be diverted. And the best way to tell it was as first person himself as reported by Enki. So they said this family now it's not normal at a page 5 and don't I say it as Nippur quotes Enki as saying when I approached earth there was much flooding. Continue upon page 6. When I neared its green meadows, heaps and mounds were piled up at my command. In a pure place I built my house, an appropriate name I gave it. I talk about when him just come in and set up here we do. I. So What them say go on here so now? Sumerian Akkadian clay tablet is at page 6 now. And Assyrian libraries, Egyptian, Hittite, and Canaanite myths and biblical narratives are the main body of written down memories of the affairs of the god and men. For the first time ever, this dispersed and fragmented material has been assembled and used by Zacharias Sitchin to recreate the eyewitness account of Enki, the autobiographical memoirs and the insightful prophecies of an extraterrestrial god. Presented as a text dictated by Enki to a chosen scribe, a book of witnessing to be unsealed at an appropriate time too. It brings in mind Yahweh's instruction to the prophet Isaiah, 7th century BC. Now come, write it on a sealed tablet as a book, engrave it. Let it be a witness until the last day, a testimony for all time. That's Isaiah 38, them are showing us. So in them are saying, dealing with the past, Enki himself perceived the future, the notion of the Anunnaki, exercising free will, were masters of their own fate as well as Mars, as the fate of mankind, gave away in the end to a realization that it was destined that when all was said and done, the determined course of events that therefore, as the Hebrew prophecies had recognized the first things, shall be the last. See, so as them I tell about the council of Anunnaki, this is when Enki, this is when Enlil and Enki's son catch a pop fight, as they would have said in Jamaica, but I don't know, fist to fist. Because I come to let the story, come read it. So I'm not even too want to spoil it, but a spaceship, the man them going to Mars. And the man mentioned Alelo first it come on Earth. So when him did take away one spacecraft and took away himself from the Nibiru, for reason we're gonna mention further on. When them did everything the circle and done and him tell them about Earth and everything and them come and find him. Them did carry the rest of nuclear power machine, nuclear bombs that him did have and go hide it on Mars. And then Enlil now tell Enki, tell Fim son now, where this a weapon you hide where? And the man them go rise it. I wanna Enki. Enlil go tell Fim son where the dirty missile them hide where seen, and him for go rise them for fight Marduk. And even when Enki son, I go with the man to see him here. That's Enki of your ball out said. Just like on the Nibiru master, brother against brother. So it deep, so we have to understand all of that family. It's a good little thing where them can read and go through. For no one, but I try to go to my own understanding. As I see it mentioned about Adam and Eve, Noah's flood, all of them things there, I come from the same Sumerian thing I hear the system I tell you about. Because here the thing now, family, is we have to understand all we go on within history, Does that we have to understand, Spirituality is real. If you have to practice do your religious practice to attain your spirituality, not fine with that as long as you not sacrifice nobody and kill nobody. But the point we have to get to, we have to understand, say, how church thing did establish and was taken over. And the whole knowledge that was handed down. These knowledge are part of the knowledge that leave out. And as I tell you, I'm going to mention it, I'm already going to mention it again. John D. in a 1500s when he do him thing, did stately clear say, the second fallen angel where they come meet him, they tell him say, no, they tell him say, a him named Enlil. And him responsible for the whole of the place. So it come like, oh, we da say, where we are read, yeah, so. Where them say him are the commander for earth. So that same phrase, so you what's on me I try to say. I'm go in that video there, I have that video there on my channel, I'm not go in this, but I try to show you, say, Queen Elizabeth I know about Enlil. So she gonna know about Enki, and she gonna know about the Anunnaki family, and them gonna know about all of the history. The Pope and Vatican know about all of this history. Them tell you say, when the Knights Templar, them, the Knights Templar, them get to start big up them chest. The man, them show you say, when the Crusaders, them, they start head to the east and start buck up on the real, authentic literature and knowledge that exists out there. Now what the Catholic did that teach them in Europe. They might come forward to the root now of the thing. And they might say, what, look here, Adam and Eve not even did white. No snake, no gossip, no snake, no wicked. Them fathom all of these things. The history there, they go research and find out. And it make them become powerful. And them have these secrets over the Pope and the vibration. That's why them could establish themselves. Till when them merge in as well, you see, go on at the same Pope and Catholic take them down. But me just try to show you, say, the knowledge is there. But as when me show you all these things hide underneath Vatican secret archives, when in an archive, them in a museum where we can't afford to go. So we have to fathom these things probably and get a overstanding, say everything is a trick. So we're going to continue with N-Dub-Sar theme reading. We're going to start off with that because this is just the introduction of the book itself, as I tell them. So as usual, family, them can do no one individual research and give thanks to them time, love and light energies. Rastafari.